Do you want more? More time, more balance, more love, more sex, more money, more real, and less bullshit? This is the Women Wanting More podcast with Dr. Karen Osborne. Real life, real stories, plus real tips to get you more of what you want.
Hey sister, let's talk about the messages in your feelings. I was standing here holding the phone thinking of what I wanted to speak into a situation that's just developed about one of my kids this morning. And the details of it don't matter. But what does matter is in this situation, there was this instant feeling of, like a couple things. Number one, like, oh God, I'm such a different parent than most other parents. Not a right or wrong, just like different. Like the feeling first that actually hit me with this, with a text from a parent was just like judgment. Judgment. You're judging my kid. And then I feel that when people judge my children, do you feel this way as a mom? I think most of us do as parents. We go, oh, now you're judging me because I'm the one who's raising this child, right? And I started to kind of think about it, and I texted back a response to this parent that had texted me something, and then emailed the teacher because it's something involving the teacher in a meeting, and just, God, I mean, honestly, my first hit was just kind of like, fuck. Parenting's hard enough. Can we not make shit so fucking complicated, you know? But then, you know, when I found myself, I was like, oh, now I'm judging her. I don't know her story and all that. Like, I don't know. But here's what I know. Because all I can do is control me and my response in any situation, right? That's all we can ever control is us and our response. Because after this happened, and this week has been a challenging week for me. It's been a challenging past year and a half, 2 years for crying out loud. I'm just like, when I have those little windows, I'm like, oh, okay. I have these things to do today, you know, feeling less of just heaviness and more lightness. Like when these moments come up in the challenging stuff that's going on, I embrace it, right? I'm like, okay, knowing that life, whether it's a challenging time or not, there's waves, right? They go in and they go out. So as the tide comes in and things are a little lighter, I'm like, great. As it goes out, it's a little rougher. I'm like, okay, here we go. What are we going to learn? What do we need to see in this, right? Like, it all has purpose. It all has a plan. It all has meaning. It's all serving at some point, right? But just when I felt, I'm like, okay, let me breathe again for a little bit. This thing happened. And I also went to the point of, oh God, like I've just, woke up feeling a lot of hope this morning and getting the boys on school on time today. And like, all right, I have these things to do. One is recording a podcast, having this conversation with you today. And then this thing hit. I'm just like, fuck. And I instantly kind of allowed it to derail me for a short period of time. And then I just I felt into it. I didn't think through it. I mean, of course, I'm thinking about things, right? But I kind of more felt into it. I'm like, what is the real thing for me behind this? I go, number one, I'm feeling like my son's being judged. And I feel like both of my kids, they're just not like a lot of other kids. Like and again, it's not like right or wrong or anything like that. I just know because I'm not that kind of person either. And neither is my husband, neither is daddy. Like, it's just, we're not a typical family that fits the box, and neither are my kids. And I've also really kind of struggled with this thing of like, I don't know if my kids fit in the school box. But yet there's not a lot of options. We've kind of looked into some and they didn't work out of like alternative schools. At least we've found the past. But it definitely, I'm feeling like it's more of a conversation. However, let's keep with the conversation here at hand, which is I then started to really ask myself, what am I feeling in this moment? I'm feeling judged, okay? I'm feeling that my son is judged. And then I go to the place of, well, F you, a little bit, not so much. My edge is not so sharp as it had been in past years and decades, as I'm softening. And I went, oh, okay, so now I'm feeling like Kai's judged. Now I feel judged as a mom. And then I go, well, what is it behind the judgment? Why does it matter to me right now? Like, why am I choosing to see the situation as it is? And then I start to like ask the question, like, what's really underneath that, right? Like, what's really underneath that? And I go, oh, here comes the I'm not worthy to be a mom, the infertility piece. I tried to be a mom for years and years, 7.5 years, before we became parents through adoption. And so, I mean, you don't really know, and I know, and I don't mean to be like, nobody understands me. Like, I don't mean it to sound this way, so just please hear me with this. Unless you, and some will go like, oh yeah, I struggle for years, and then we had a baby, and I'm like, no, it's not the same. I understand, I know you're trying to kind of relate and everything, and I know it's hard, and I know there'll be a lot of parents too, that a lot of moms will say to me like, oh, well, it doesn't matter if you've been adopted the kids, like, look, you're still a mom. And I'm like, I know, but there's a loss, there's a missing piece for me here, right? I know that the reason, without question, that I was never able to conceive, that we were never able to conceive together, was because we were destined to be Tyson and Kai's mommy and daddy. Like, I know that. However, it is still a lot. I mean, you know, loss is loss, right? You don't really kind of like get over something. You kind of get through it, and it's still kind of like a scar, right? Like, grief is a scar. Loss is a scar. And so when I reflect on this whole situation, when I go, oh, I feel judged, and then I feel like my son is judged, I feel judged, and then I go, see, you're a shitty mom, Karen. That's that's the story that ego wants to tell me, right? I go, yeah, remember all that time. And then I go to the story of like, you know, they don't understand. And this other parent doesn't. She doesn't know me. She doesn't know how much that these things really trigger. All they see the exterior at times is a woman who's maybe a little sharp sometimes when it comes to stuff with the kids. And a little kind of like, listen, I don't want to make this all complicated. It doesn't have to be that way. Because believe me, my path to motherhood was super complicated. It was. All the different tests and treatments and procedures and, you know, like. So what's really under this is not that it's the I feel judged. It's not the I feel Kai's judged. It's like you're uncovering these rocks, right? And you're trying to figure out like what's underneath all this stuff, right? You know what's really underneath this? Grief. And we can look at situations like this, because I could look at, I'm like, God, like Tyson's 9, Kai's 6. I've been a mummy for a little bit over 9 years. Like, and of course, again, I know this is the way it was supposed to go down. I'm thankful for adoption. Every single day, I'm like, man, their birth moms chose us. Like, what a gift these two young women did, you know, to recognize that they weren't ready to be moms, but, you know, I really want to find a good mom and dad for this child. Like, what a gift, what a sacrifice, what a blessing. But yet there's that piece of loss, right? There's that piece of loss. And I also look back in this and I go, wait a second, I should be like again, I got 2 beautiful boys, like this is the way it's supposed to happen. There are some things about being a mother later in life as now a 50-year-old woman with a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old, like the life experience and the wisdom and that kind of stuff. I don't get all wrapped up in a lot of pieces that I see other moms that are younger, that are 20s and 30s with kids, which is kind of the age group I'm around, honestly. So I do, and I see that as a blessing as well too. But yet what this has really uncovered is the grief, right? Is the grief, the loss component of never being able to conceive and be pregnant and to breastfeed and to birth. And it's like, it's again, when you don't have that experience, it's difficult to explain it, because I definitely have had, you know, some moms that would be like, oh, well, I'd love to have just adopted my kids. I'm like, okay, I understand. Or that, talk about how their bodies have not bounced back, or they've got the stretch marks, and, easy for you. Like, I still remember when Tyson was a baby. Like, he was probably three weeks old. Like, he was little. And I was out with him at the grocery store or something, and I've got him in, like, the bucket seat from the car seat. It's kind of sitting in the cart, and I'm getting groceries and stuff. And I remember this moment so clearly, like it just happened. Being in the grocery store, a mom looking at my baby, my new baby, and then looking at me and clearly seeing, like, it doesn't look like I just had a baby, and looking back at me with daggers out of her eyes. Like, woo, it was intense. I knew exactly what that was. And then as I started to come across more of those looks, and it was kind of being more in conversation stuff, I then felt I had to justify. I go, well, we actually, I adopt, and they go, oh, like somehow now it filled in the blanks, right? And until I realized I don't really have to, of course, we're very open about the adoption. The kids know they're adopted. Like, this is open adoption is the way now with adoption. It's not the old way it used to be. Everything was a secret. Like, it's, it is what it is. It's no big deal. We're very open about the kids. They know it. It's a beautiful thing. But yet I stopped feeling like I had to explain that to every fucking stranger that gave me like a weird look, right? When the kids were really little. They were like infants. So the grief was really the piece that's underneath that. And so, we have these choices when we have these experiences happen to us in life, right? It could be something simple that just really, and here's what we can do. We can go to the point where we go, oh, she triggered me. He triggered me. This experience triggered me. I get it. And there's something that's coming up for you, okay? Not to you, for you in this situation, for you to see. And we can stay in the point of blame, and we can judge that person back, or judge the experience, or, get angry, F you, like all those things. And you could be really justified in that, by the way. Like, this isn't to say, like, because I've responded that way a gajillion times in the past. Now, years, decades later in life, I can look back and I go, oh, underneath it was this thing, right? So now where I are right now in my life, and what I'm really inviting you to do is that when you notice that you're going to those places, right? Because something kind of happens at times when we go, oh, that person triggered me. Like it takes it off of you and it puts it on them. Now, can people be unkind? Yes. Can they be, maybe just outright mean at times? Yes. But you know what? There's something behind that for them too. I do not believe that people are inherently bad. I believe that people are good. But I also know we're all really fucking wounded. That we've had things happen to us as children. Because it's what happens. Do you understand? This is part of the path. Is for us to go through these things, okay? These lessons, these hard experiences. Yes, some of them might have been really brutal for us as children. But there's something in those experiences for us. And we can even look back and someone can share something horrific that happened to them as a child. And I can say to them, I'm so sorry that happened to you. That was not okay how you were treated. But yet it still remains that that's the thing, right? Like, it happened. And so all these experiences, whether it's something horrific or otherwise, are part of our path. They're part of our journey. They're part of us to now have a point in life where things start to unravel, big or small, that expose these pieces for us. And so we either come to grips with it and we let go of the control and we let go of the anger and the stories and the rage and the fear and all that stuff. And we surrender to these things that have happened for us. And we open up to what we are designed to see and how we integrate and heal those pieces of us to become more whole, to become more grounded, to remember who we are. Because see, all those past experiences we forgot. We create this version of ourselves which is ego. We create these versions of ourselves to protect ourselves, to keep us safe, because that's what ego whispers into our ear. And we did it all very unconsciously. We weren't trying to kind of be a fake person or anything like that. It's not about that. It's the version of ourselves that we create ourselves to be so we wouldn't get hurt any longer. Do you feel that? It's the version of ourselves that we created for ourselves so we would no longer get hurt and we were protected. And we created these shields of armor, our stories, the way that we showed up, the way that we interact with other human beings. And so when experiences happen to us in life that expose some of these things, it's very easy to go to that past version that we created, isn't it? I mean, for me, it's decades of going to anger about stuff. So you better believe that it takes some time and some like awareness and like, this is why being present is so like, because we can be so reactive, right? I mean, I watch my two boys, 6 and 9. I'm like, ooh, can they be reactive, right? I'm trying to teach them how to just pause for a second. I always think of the visual. Remember like in the movie The Matrix? This was like an old coach that kind of like gave us an analogy, and I really resonated. I still think of it to this day. So do you remember in the first Matrix where there's like a bullet coming and Keanu Reeves' character kind of does this like slow motion like backbend and the bullet kind of whizzes over him? Like he's able to kind of slow down time, right? So I'm teaching my boys to kind of like be ninjas in this way, to be like Neo in the Matrix. So it's not easy for us as adults. But by God, I really like, this is important. I don't give a shit what my kids, like grades they get in school. Like I don't care about any of that stuff. It's these things that matter, right? It's our ability that when the situations come up, that we don't point the finger, we don't judge back, we don't throw our wounds onto somebody else. And we just take that pause and we slow it down for a moment. And we go, wait a second, let me feel into this. Feel into it, hear me say, not think into it. Believe me, we're thinking and thinking and thinking and running around our head and going through all the scenarios, and that shit is exhausting. This is not a head thing, it's a heart thing for you to experience and to feel and to open up into, for you to see. For you to see means you got to feel. You need to be open. You need to like take off some of the armor that's heavily wrapped around you. You have to like unwind yourself from the stories. Here was mine. Nobody understands me. They judging me as a mom because I'm 50. Or, I mean, a lot of them don't know. They don't know me. They don't know my age. I don't necessarily, I think, look my age so much, but like, oh, they're going to judge me because of this. Oh, they're going to judge me because I'm an adoptive mom. They're going to assume that I didn't want to have kids. Like somehow this was more convenient. That was not the case. Never the case with adoption. You know, my kids are going to be judged because they're adopted kids. Like, I got a lot of stories. I know you do too. I'm very aware of them. I'm also aware that they are all bullshit. Because they're stories. It's not true. Can somebody judge me? Can people think these things about me? Yes. And what? And nothing. Yes, that could be true. But who am I to like judge somebody back to think, well, here's what you think of me? That's insanity. And besides that, we can never control what somebody thinks of us. Ever. The only thing, coming back full circle, we can ever control is our response to a situation, what we choose to see in that, and how we choose to love ourselves. That's it. Can't control our kids, can't control spouse, can't control other parents, can't control people that you work with. None of that. Just us. Just us. So what's the more tip in all this here today? Oh, yeah. You know, here's my more tip. I want you to reflect on something that's happened for you recently. It could be something that's kind of happening right now, right? So something that's happened that has had that moment where it's like, again, it's triggered you, right? Like something's come up, it's upset you, you felt sad, you felt judged, you felt blamed, you felt mad, you felt all this stuff. And just feel into it. So if you can even just, close your eyes, put both hands over your heart and go, what did I feel in this situation? Now you might notice right away, ego's going to go judged, blamed, he's this, she's this, nobody gets me, right? That's the armor speaking, by the way, And so it's not about pushing those thoughts or those feelings away. It's just kind of like, okay, I see you. So what's under that? For example, knowing that like under anger is actually a secondary emotion, okay? Meaning that that's not the real emotion. What's under anger is fear or sadness. And anger, by the way, is going to take different forms, right? Anger / fear. Fear can be under anger, jealousy, rage, blame, right? Being short with people, like shame, humiliation, embarrassment. So just to feel into what is the emotion, ask yourself, what is the emotion that I feel in this situation? What am I feeling? Okay, where am I feeling my body? What am I feeling? What am I feeling? And then to ask yourself, it's like to keep asking yourself this next question, what's under that? What's under that? Like it's, again, you're lifting up all these different rocks. Like imagine you're at, I don't know, the beach or something, lifting up these rocks, or at like, some like a forest. Let's say more like a forest where you're opening up. You're like, oh, underneath that, there's another little small box. What's under this? Oh, there's some bugs. What's under this? Oh, there's a little piece of wood. Oh, what's under this? Like just what is under this? What is the emotion that's under this? What's underneath this? So for example, you might say, well, I feel angry at this person. Okay, cool. I see you, anger. What's under the anger? Well, I actually feel really afraid that this person doesn't like me or that they're judging me okay, cool. And what's under that? Because this is the process that got me to where I am right now here in this moment with this situation today. It's just being open to, number one, going, okay, let me step out of victim right now because that's going to get me nowhere. Let me choose that. Number one, let me start asking myself good questions. Which is not, why does this happen? And why do parents have to make things so complicated? And like, why can't you just directly talk to me? Like just all that stuff, it just spins, right? But if I go, okay, it's just me. I can only control me in this situation. What am I feeling in this moment? I'm feeling judged. What's under that? What's under that is like sadness. I mean, I was able to kind of go there quickly because I do a lot of this stuff and I've done this for a really long period of time and I do it as a coach, right? So, I mean, I do what I teach. So again, more tip, identify something that's happened for you recently where you felt hurt, judged, upset, angry, right? Any of those kinds of things. And start asking yourself basically the question, hands over your heart and just go, what did I feel in that moment? And then keep asking yourself, and what's under that? And what's under that? And what am I feeling under that? And what's under that thing? It's similar to when I have clients go through and find their deep why. When they go, well, this is the thing that I want in my life. I go, great. Why is that? Well, because of this. Okay. And why does that matter? Well, it matters because of this. And why does that matter? And it's like, I literally will say, you could be like 15 deep into why does that matter until it lands and you'll know. And this is when I came up at the end of this and I went, oh, this is the infertility piece. This is the grief. Yeah, it's still there. Am I still through a lot of this stuff? And yeah, sure. But again, it's a scar. It got kind of rubbed today, right? And that's not on that person. That's for me to release more of that stuff. So that the scar, which was a wound, which got healed over, which is still kind of something you can see that not that it'll eventually fade away. I don't really feel that that's like there's still going to have situations that kind of bring up the pieces, right? But to understand that it's still okay if I need to cry about this. It's still okay if I need to talk about this. It's still okay to go, this is what I'm feeling and I don't have to be past it, right? We don't ask, I lost my dad like 5 months ago. People wouldn't go like, oh, aren't you over it by now? And well, I shouldn't say that because some people are, because we have a challenge with loss, right? And loss shows up in many different forms. And so keep asking yourself that question, what's under that? What's under that? What's under that? So you can really see, and then whatever it is that you really discover is under that, allow yourself to really feel that. Scream, cry, move. Your emotions need to move, okay? Everything that's coming up is happening for you. Every experience that's happening is something for you to see, something for you to feel. Not think, but feel. All right, sister. Whew. It's felt like a lot today, hey? But it just is something that, I just know I had to speak into this today. I had to get really clear about it first. I had to really do that work on my own. And then this is the message I feel you really need to hear today. So I do sincerely hope this has served you. So I will talk to the next episode, sister. A life of more really is one step away. From you asking yourself, what's under this? Every single day. I love and appreciate you.
To get the show notes of each Women Wanting More episode, including the How to Get More tip, subscribe to the newsletter at drkarenosburn.com/newsletter.